So we thank all of you for your patience as we have gone through actually 3 renditions of this reunion and are finally kicking it off. So that's very exciting for us who live in the Alumni House. And we're so glad that you're with us and can't wait for the time when you're back on the shores of Lake Massasoit in person and we can shake your hands and give you a hug and tell you face to face how much you mean to all of us. I want to turn the program over to my colleague, also here in the Alumni House with us, John White. And John is going to get us going with our program.
Well, thanks, Tammy. And again, hello and welcome to everybody. Grand Reunion 2021. It's awesome to see everybody. We've got a great weekend planned for you. And just a reminder, this is part one, prong one of our reunion celebration this year. So we will be back on campus on Saturday, November 13th, actually something in person, which will be awesome. And I hope all of you can make it. It's, again, Tammy and her team have so much planned. Wine and food truck festival. We got a home football game. I think it's to be the first football game we've ever had at Reunion. So a lot more planned. So we're looking forward to having you back. So watch your email for more details and to register. Just a quick note about this past year. So it was obviously it was a challenging year. I've got to say, we made it through it. We didn't just make it through it. I think we had a successful year. I have been lucky enough, been fortunate enough to be working here at Springfield College for 20 years. I have never been prouder of our community. It was not easy, but to see everyone pull together, the resiliency of our faculty, staff, our students that feel, just being able to come here 3 days a week and feel the energy and optimism, especially from our students, it was really something. It was special. So it was a difficult year, but I believe we're all stronger for it, and we're really looking forward to next year. I will tell you that I know Dr. Cooper is looking forward to sharing more with you about this past year and the future. That'll be tomorrow at 10:30, so I hope you can all attend that. We are optimistic about the college's future, but we can't do it alone. Providing an affordable humanics-based education to a deserving student depends on our alums and our friends. So I know many of you. I know many of you have made a gift to Springfield College this year, to the Springfield College Fund. I want to thank you for that. Your support has never been more important. If you haven't, please consider doing so by the end of our fiscal year, June 30th. Your gift, no matter how large, no matter how small, it will be put to immediate use to support our students and our mission. And we try to make it as easy as possible to make a gift. You can go online. You can respond to a mailing you probably received to us, or give us a call. Give me a call. I'd love to talk to you. So thanks for your consideration, and we really appreciate it. So let me turn the program over to our moderator, a legend of Springfield College, a faculty member, an athletic trainer, a dean, a man who has famously said, "My parents dropped me off in the fall of 1964 and they never picked me up." I love that. I just love that. My friend, Charlie Redmond. Charlie?
John, thanks for the kind word. Yeah, I still periodically check, but I don't think they're coming, and that was a good thing. Been a terrific experience, and it's really a privilege to be part of this particular program, in the development of it a little bit, and to do a little bit of moderating and a little bit of hosting. It's particularly fun because as we look back, the alumni office and the development office started these programs built around wellness several years ago, and we've done several of them. We've done them on exercise and aging, we've done them on nutrition and aging, and others, and hopefully we'll continue these. We decided this time to do something a little bit different, and we chose a topic that typically is not one that comes to the tip of someone's tongue all the time when they think of colleges. They think of classrooms and teaching and supervision and sports and athletics. But one of the key things that doesn't get the recognition maybe it should, or at the very least is below the radar, is research. And if you think about research, it's probably the critical part of the institution in a very quiet way. All faculty, whether they're applying for tenure and promotion, must demonstrate a scholarship in the form of research and publication in their areas. Very, very important part for the faculty and the students to remain current. A major component, as I think we'll see in a little bit, of the graduate student's education is research, learning how to do it, publishing it, adding to the body of knowledge. So a very, very critical part of the education of the graduate student. And I think what we'll find when we hear from Dr. Geyer in a few moments here, that Springfield College has been particularly creative in weaving in the research experience to undergraduate students, which I don't think is done in all institutions. And I think that's, again, unique to our Humanics philosophy. Another key thing that people don't recognize is that the reputation of a college is very frequently based upon their research agenda as it's published in the public, and how well trained the graduates of the institutions are in completing research. And I think obviously Springfield College has done that for a long time. A name that should jump to everybody's mind right now is Peter Kopovich, and I think we've continued in different levels to that particular achievement. So to demonstrate and showcase research at Springfield College, we've put together a group of really special scholars who are going to approach the topic from some different angles, and I think we'll find it very, very interesting. So let's go forward to the research. So I'd like to start by introducing Dr. Sue Geyer. She is the Dean of the School of PEPSL. Now, I was the Dean of the School of HPE&R, but we have a newer acronym. So I would like Dr. Geyer to take a second at the beginning here and tell us what PEPSL is.
So thank you, Charlie. I'm going to take just a few minutes before we get into the formal part of the program to share a very brief PowerPoint, if you would allow me to, and just to talk a little bit to our alum about a couple of changes that have happened within the School of what was HPE&R, Health, Physical Education, and Recreation, and a couple other changes that have happened, and I get a lot of questions about these two things, and then I'll lead us into the research. But we have changed our name. We're Physical Education, Performance, and Sports Leadership, and you might think to yourself, what is that? And a lot of people say it's not Pepsi, it's PEPSL, and it's not a Pepsid AC. It's actually the name of the school. And the reason for the change really was to be more encompassing of the different departments within the school. So health and physical education recreation no longer represented everything that the school had to offer. So we had an opportunity to realign and to engage all members of the college and think about how can we rename the school to better fit what we have. So with the physical education, performance, and sports leadership title, it is more prone to include exercise sciences and also our sportman department. So it was definitely a conscious decision. It is a little bit long and it doesn't roll off the tongue yet, but we're hoping to get to that point. Another thing that we are looking at is change and no change. The college seal hasn't changed, so I think that's really important. We've just kind of changed where we use it and how we use it, and it's more for formal and official business. What we have moved to more is the new logo, which isn't the college seal, it is the primary logo. And we've also changed our Human Performance Lab logo. It needed some updating. So Dr. Liz O'Neill and our new lab coordinator, Steve Maris, have been working on that. So we have a new logo there. It's a little bit more up to date, a little bit more modern, a little bit cleaner and slicker. Another thing we haven't changed, but we have changed how it's used, is the Gulick triangle. That's still part of our history and that will never change. But we are no longer using it in any kind of manner that isn't appropriate to the original Gulick triangle. So it can be presented as this way only, and we have started using it within text. So it has taken the place of an A in some cases, or an O in some cases. So they're being a little bit more flexible with it, but it's true to its form and shape and will never go away. If you haven't been on campus in a while, I would say this is a new athletic training clinic, but this is now in its 12th year of existence, but it's 8,000 square feet. where athletic training majors get to get hands-on skills and knowledge with our preceptors. And it is state-of-the-art, and we continue to add different types of machines to that area. We have an adapted field, which is co-sponsored by the Cal Ripken Foundation. So it's a beautiful field that's on our varsity baseball fields. Our laboratory, a human performance lab, is state-of-the-art. We continue to get new devices, and Sam will tell you about those a little bit more specifically, but from the ECG to research teams with our VO2 max testing, you can see some things in the background that we have different devices, the Vortex. We have a bod pod, which is a body composition. We just got another piece of equipment that we were able to acquire through strength and conditioning budget. And we also have a new grants and sponsored research kind of leading us into this research endeavor. And his name is Tony Motti, and he is really a true grant writer. And since he's been on campus for a little under, I think, 10 months, he has really allowed us to have from the original idea to inception to grant submission, and he's already assisted with over 7 grants within about 3 months. So he has really hit the ground running, and he was hired at the right time. And I think he is going to really have us going in the right direction with grants and sponsored research. A little bit what Charlie alluded to is that continuum of research that's really the hallmark of our school, and that's from the undergraduate to the faculty and staff. Our undergrads and many of our programs, they're expected to do scholarship. That we have one day committed to undergraduate research, which is Scholars in Action Day. Even during COVID, we were able to maintain that program. We sure do like to have it in person, which we will hopefully next spring. And we all are also part of the Council of Undergraduate Research, so we're part of the CUR coalition. Our graduate students are part of thesis and dissertation. We help sponsor them for conference presentations, and we encourage and have changed our presentation requirement for our doctoral students. It's now an expectation versus something that we encourage them to do. And as Charlie also alluded to, our faculty and staff are definitely involved in publication, grants, and projects. And I want to talk to you just briefly about 2 projects that we're working on that you're going to be hearing more about. Our human performance laboratory finally has gotten approval for a pay for services. So we will be doing pay for services for individuals. More particularly, we have the chief of Springfield Fire Department wants to do some testing for his all of his firefighters. So we'll be doing some testing and making that research as well. And we're going to be starting a wellness institute in the summer of 2022, which you'll be hearing a lot about. So welcome back, and just wanted to give you a brief overview, and hopefully that starts us off into having a little bit of a framework, a little bit of a background.
Thank you, Dr. Geyer. Moving on, it's time to get to some real interesting topics. So we'd ask Dr. Headley to put together some information on the research he's doing. We certainly wouldn't have enough time to do all of it, but I think he's highlighted it. And I think if in the last count that we had 2 of your doctoral students that are available on the call, we're going to give us a little information on their role with their research and your research and maybe their future. So Dr. Headley.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Again, welcome. I'm glad to be here to participate in this particular session. One of my graduate students couldn't actually make it, so Stephanie is here today. I just want to apologize up front that I might have some internet issues. If you see me go sort of freeze in a minute, I'm going to come back. I'm not going to leave you, but it is what it is. I just want to give you an overview. I was asked to give an overview of the research that we are doing. I just want to, first of all, say thank you to the administration, including Sue and others who have been so gracious to support the work that we are doing personally. I've been doing a study for the last 3 years. It was funded by the Karpovich Fund. And this study was is involved in using CKD patients or actually supplementing CKD patients with a supplement called a prebiotic, not a probiotic, a prebiotic. And we've just finished data collection. We collected data on 68 patients. Last year in March, we had to stop the actual data collection because of COVID, of course. But I made an appeal to the administration, and they were very gracious, as I said, to allow us to continue. We continued from about May onwards, but we had to drop the exercise piece. The whole purpose of the study is to see if supplementation with this prebiotic will reduce the levels of inflammation and oxidative stress in CKD patients. CKD patients, it stands for chronic kidney disease. Those patients basically eventually die from cardiovascular disease, not kidney itself, cardiovascular disease. And the major marker there is a high level of inflammation. We are pursuing the hypothesis that the high level of inflammation actually comes from the gut. And so we have actually given them this prebiotic, which was donated by a company. And the whole idea is that that will lead to a reduction in the inflammation. Literally last Monday, I shipped out all those samples to Pittsburgh as well as Vanderbilt University in Tennessee to have those bloods analyzed. God willing, on Monday, this coming Monday, I'm going to be shipping out the stool samples to Canada. So just those are the types of things that we've actually done or are doing. I will not know the results of this data until later, perhaps later this year, into the summer. So that's one study that we're actually finishing up. Another study, as Sue sort of just mentioned, we have an active grant writing program. I am literally in the process with one of my colleagues, Dr. Hutchinson. We are currently writing a grant proposal for the NIH to look at the effect of either high intensity interval training compared with moderate intensity exercise, basically on ambulatory blood pressure in Black hypertensives. That's something that we are doing right now. Tony is helping us tremendously. Our goal, we have to have it in by the 13th of July or else it's done. So we are working on that actively right now. So we have an interest in our lab in looking at high intensity interval training, which is very, very popular today. Everybody calls it HIIT, versus the traditional moderate intensity exercise, which has been recommended for many years. There is clear evidence to show that HIIT training does have some significant benefits compared to what we call MIC training. But we have been trying to see if we can actually add to that body of literature. So that's a piece of work that I have been doing and I'm interested in. Based upon this, we have some dissertations that have sort of spun off of that interest. One of my students, Greg, couldn't be here because he's in Colorado with his family, but Stephanie and him worked together sort of in tandem on their dissertations. And we asked them to come along and perhaps give an overview of the research that they were doing. So I'll turn it over to Stephanie at this time.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So like Dr. Headley said, there's a great interest in differences in exercise modality. Specifically, Greg and I also looked at this moderate intensity exercise and HIIT training. I'll speak for Greg's project a little. I don't know as much about it, but it will give you kind of an idea of why we chose to work together. But he is looking at exercise modality and how it impacts upon BDNF, because he wants to look at arterial stiffness with BDNF, and Dr. Headley can chime in if I say something incorrect, but he's also looking at how that impacts upon certain cognitive measures. He did state anxiety, a digit span task. So his was similar in that we looked at exercise modality, but my particular project was looking at how exercise modality impacts upon biochemicals associated with depression. So I wasn't specifically looking at depressed individuals, but I was looking at individuals who may be on a scale for depression. So they may be more prone or less prone to it. But I was looking at BDNF and serotonin. So it was appealing for Greg and I to work together, not only because Greg and I are good friends and we like working together, which was a plus, but we were looking at the same biomarker. So why would we want to spend to study BDNF twice when we're doing the same thing? And then I was looking at serotonin, so we already had the blood draw. So it made sense. And I do also want to thank Dr. Geyer, Dr. Headley, Dr. Mullen, who's not here, and all the other people who helped fund this, because we couldn't have looked at these biomarkers without them, because they are very expensive. So I want to thank you for that. But so I also looked at different cognitive measures, a little bit different to Greg. So mood scales, feeling scales, whether they enjoyed the exercise or not. So I haven't run my statistics yet because I need to locate SPSS on a computer somewhere. I'm actually in Florida doing a fellowship, but I see Dr. Headley laughing about that too. But just from a visual examination, it's pretty obvious people prefer exercising over not exercising. So that's a plus right there. And then it seems to increase enjoyment between HIIT and moderate intensity. People seem to enjoy HIIT more as well. So the scores just kind of kept going up as you looked at the progressive type of exercise, which is interesting. I don't know if Dr. Headley or anyone else has any questions or wants me to discuss anything else related to the research. I certainly can do that.
Yes, Staff Charlie Redmond, just a quick question for the non-scientists in the room, which include me. As you approach your data and as you're going to get to your conclusions, what would be some practical implications or applications of what you found in more application language for us slow learners like me?
Sure. So yeah, so with depression, I think about a third of individuals who are prescribed medications like SSRIs don't respond to them. So there's a huge group of non-responders to medication in relation to depression. So I was interested in what are some other things that might help these individuals improve their mood, feel better. And I thought exercise logically would be one of them. So a practical implication would be, first of all, getting individuals who may be depressed to exercise if they don't already exercise may be beneficial. And then the type of exercise they're doing might change depending on what I find. So my theory would be that people may want to do high intensity exercise over moderate intensity because usually those HIIT sessions are shorter. So people who don't like to exercise may be more willing to do 20 minutes of HIIT versus an hour of steady state, moderate intensity cardiovascular exercise. And then a spin-off of this could be resistance training and how that impacts these biochemicals, because that's something I didn't look at. So there are several ways you could go with this.
Thank you. Just another quick question. Yeah, go ahead, Bob. I'm hogging this. Take it away.
Well, how are you looking at compliance in your groups? And are these folks individually working on it, or are there a collective program? Obviously, COVID makes collective gatherings pretty tough, but I just wonder about compliance.
Sure. So the individuals in our study, they weren't actually training. So they came in for one bout of HIIT, one bout of moderate intensity exercise, and one control session where they sat and watched a documentary to get kind of a baseline measure. So we didn't have a problem with compliance in getting people into the lab, but you're absolutely right. It could be difficult to get people to stay with the program, which again could be another area of study of how do we get these individuals to train and stick with the training so that exercise is beneficial for them.
To answer that question,
that would be a great extension, because after all, you want to alter their lifestyle, right? That's what your goal in this is going to be. So that'd be a nice add-on.
Right.
I would like to add that the grant that we are currently working on literally right now has that built into it, that we are looking, we have like 3 aims, and that's the second aim. We're looking to see if people are more compliant to HIIT versus MIC, or MIC versus HIIT.
Yeah. So
that's right on what we're thinking of doing.
Yeah. Perfect.
I should also add one quick point. Greg did find some differences. He found that the BDNF is a brain-derived natural factor that when we exercise is released in our brains, and he found that the levels were higher in males than females, significantly higher. He found that. He also found that arterial stiffness, which is something we'll talk about even later, arterial stiffness went down with moderate intensity exercise, but went up with HIIT. That's something that we didn't expect to find. But those are some of the key things that I think he found in his, at least based upon the physiology, what he found in his study.
So
yeah, go ahead, Bob.
No, so at the University of Pittsburgh, I think his last name is Erickson, but I could have the wrong last name, demonstrated that hippocampal volume changed with actually just walking, and that it was related to BDNF. And so I'd probably be tricky where your patients would be located, whether you could get volumetric studies of hippocampus on some neuroscience program that might be interested.
That's beyond our scope right now, to
Sure,
be honest with
right,
you.
right.
But you've hit it on the head. I mean, I have a relationship with people at Pittsburgh, quite frankly. I just sent blood there just on Monday. But they are, yes, obviously this is a hot area. I can tell you that BDNF is a hot area in the neuroscience world.
Yep. No, it's good for Springfield. Good job.
We have good students, quite honestly.
Stephanie, Charlie again, two-part question, not scientific. Can you tell us about you and the research experience, your research that you've accomplished? And the second part, which I think would be interesting to most folks on the call here on the Zoom, what are your plans? What are your future plans?
Sure. Okay, so to start off with, so I had a tiny bit of research experience before this. I did a pre-medical post-baccalaureate program at the University of Vermont, and I did a little bit of cancer research up there. And then I came back to Springfield and I did my master's here as well. So my research experience at Springfield, I'll speak to first. I've worked actually with a lot with Dr. Headley. I've worked with his CKD patients a lot. That's actually an area of interest for me because my mother has CKD. So it was very interesting for me. And we do a lot of research in classes and labs. So I've had research is actually my interest. So I've had a wide variety of research experiences at Springfield that have aided me in the current fellowship that I have now. So this leads into the second part of your question, asking what I hope to do. I have a fellowship with the Navy down in Florida. So I applied to that pre-COVID-ish kind of planning for the future. And I was allowed to come down here to pursue that. And I've been doing thermoregulatory research with the Navy under my mentor here. And I was supposed to be here for a year, but I actually had my fellowship extended for a little bit longer to continue working on the project that I'm doing. And then hopefully the plan is to stay in some capacity as some type of contractor. And if I don't stay here, I would like to go somewhere else to work, either with the military or something like that in some capacity to do research.
Is there attraction to the military? You said Navy or Army, and as far as resources or availability of subjects, or?
So that was probably more my own interest in the Navy, and that I tried to actually join. I wanted to do aerospace physiology, but I couldn't join the Navy for medical purposes. So I actually found this fellowship, which was a great fit. So instead of doing aerospace stuff, I'm actually doing hyperbaric research now. So I kind of did a flip-flop of the different types of environments.
Thank you.
I see Tammy's raising her hand.
Just Steph, not sure if Dr. Headley has had a chance yet to connect you with Dave McKettrick, who is a Springfield alum, who is an aerospace physiologist, and he's a lieutenant commander in the Navy.
Okay.
Very close to this office, stays in close touch with us, grad only alum, and I know would love to connect with you. So next week, email me.
Absolutely.
I haven't done that, but we can easily do that. Yeah, he's a good man, very good man.
Charlie, or maybe Dr. Headley, is there a place online that alums or anybody can go and look at the college website and see the research that's underway?
That's a very good question. Dr. Geyer, could you help me with that one?
I sure can. So that's a great question, and we're working on it. So we have one of our new faculty members who's been here for 2 years, 3 years now, is Steve Maris. He's redoing our website. He is gathering right now all the current research that's being done within the school, and he's going to be posting it very soon. We'll let Tammy know when that gets posted, so alum will be able to go there and to see it. is something that right now you have to go to each individual faculty's bio and find it. So it's not convenient, and it's also very difficult for faculty to remember to update it. So we're going to appoint Stephen as the individual who's going to continue to update that website. So we will have it up and running very soon.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I think just of interest to a lot of people, but also it may be that you know, the network of alums can help in some of this stuff in terms of funding or contacts.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Actually, extension of that, are there any fellowships that are currently supported either via alumni targeted toward our Springfield College graduates who want to continue and would need fellowship support? Are there strategies, whether the alumni can work with these efforts to generate some small endowment or something?
So we have had some models that have been developed for scholarships and or one fellowship that I know of. But within the School of Pepsel, most of our grad students are either self-pay or on a single. I think Sam has 2 graduate fellows, 1.5 really.
Yeah, 1.5.
So our fellowship opportunities aren't as great as we would like them, Bob. So yes, an endowed research position would be something that I would love to talk to anyone about if they were interested in doing something like that. That would be fantastic.
Could I add to the comment? At this point, we are requiring our doctoral students to produce publishable work. In this day and age, you know, years and years ago, you could just do a heart rate response and so on and get things published. Right. Today, the research, the level of research that we have to do, you've heard, we have to draw bloods. We have to look at substances like BDNF, and there are other proteins out there that we want our students to look at. Those things cost money. And that's just beyond the honest truth. We are trying our best. Some of us are trying to get research grants that will bring equipment and resources in to be able to help fund some of these things. But the sheer truth is that for us to stay in the cutting edge, we have to be, unfortunately it's expensive. And the students would really appreciate that help. I think Stephanie can speak to that.
I know Stephanie thanked us, but I want to thank her because this is the first time we've really had 2 students who have shared resources in this way. The price point on this research for a single student was really ambitious. Mm-hmm. So they really put their heads together with Dr. Headley and thought of a unique way to approach this research and using the same biomarkers. So it was really a great way for them to be able to move forward with the research. And we were able to fund that through some, what I have available to me is called the Buxton Fund, which is for research. So we were able to support that. So it's because it is cutting edge. We also want to make sure our students have the N in their research. So it is publishable. That's been an issue for our students as well when they're only looking at maybe 8 students. A lot of journals won't publish with that small of an N. So we're trying to have more robust studies. Again, with every subject comes a price point. So thank you, Stephanie, for thinking outside the box.
No, we had 26, correct me here, Stephanie, we had 26 participants in this study, 26, not 8.
And we didn't even hit our N, like Dr. Geyer was talking about, just because this is such an expensive project. If you're looking at blood measures, I think our N was 42. So we got half, which, you know, it has been better than a lot of studies done. So we're happy about that, but we still didn't get to hit that, which is unfortunate, but is what it is.
Dr. Geyer, as an ex-administrator, I'm going to ask you a question that may be, I'd be interested in your response. With understanding Springfield College and the role of your faculty or the faculty across the institution, not just in Pepsel, how are faculty able to meet their rigorous teaching load responsibilities? We are known as an institution for teaching and supervision and the like. and still maintain a research opportunity and research agenda to meet, if nothing more, and I should say that, the tenure and the sabbatical types of interventions, and be able to do it as well as we obviously are doing? How are they able to do that?
It's a lot of time management, a lot of balance, and a lot of collaboration. So I think one of the things that Dr. Headley says all the time is, he's doing research with, it's not his research, it's the team's research. So a lot of faculty have looked at team approaches to research so that they're each putting a piece of the puzzle together. So looking at behavioral. So Jasmine will come in and do the behavioral piece. Sam will do the exercise piece, and making sure that we're working collaboratively. Teaching will always be number one at Springfield College. Our students are by far the most important entity we have here, and they'll always be number one. But a lot of individuals also, Charlie, are combining their teaching and their service and their research. So they're trying to get the trifecta. So if they're teaching a class, they might be doing the scholarship of learning, of teaching and learning. Or they might be doing a service project that they can actually take the research from. So research teams, and also looking at combining your efforts with the teaching, scholarship, and service. And then what is just hot off the press, which I don't think Dr. Headley even knows yet, is we have some faculty members who are solely working with doctoral students, and Sam is one of those. And we have made a commitment from the college that he'll get a 3-credit load moving forward. I know, Sam,
Thank you.
It doesn't go any further than this public forum. So he'll be getting 3 credits per semester moving forward, so that he can continue his research. So we have 4 faculty members who will be receiving that. It's a first step in a larger process. So hopefully it'll help.
Thank you, Sue. Other questions? As you know, Sam, I'm never short of questions here, so I've got one to direct you. You have multiple interests, and obviously the work you're doing with the kidney disease, but one of your interest areas is decreasing sedentary behaviors. And you're probably preaching to the choir of the folks who are on this Zoom today, but what are some strategies to try to take someone who has really become sedentary, maybe later in life, and become a little bit more active for the benefits that I think you're showing possibly with your research?
Okay, first of all, we are not even conscious of it, but some of us spend, even in this Zoom meeting today, look what we are doing. Many of us are sitting. Many of us spend 9, 10, 12 hours a day sitting. And the research shows that correlates to bad metabolic health, cardiovascular health, and so on. It's just part of our society that we get into a car, we drive from point A to point B, we go to an office, we sit, and so on. So that is a problem. It's a real problem. The remedy problem is perhaps what you can do is to build in breaks. Like, okay, you can have a little timer every, X number of minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, get up and move around. Don't sit in that television and watch that television for several straight hours. I must admit to you right now, my wife caught me upstairs recently. I'm working on this grant. And I am like, I am so focused on what I'm doing. I'm stressed out. And she comes up to me and says, wait a minute, aren't you getting up? And I was there glued to it. So it happens to all of us. So the answer is we need to break up our sitting time. We have to sit, but break it up rather than sitting for prolonged periods of time. That is definitely shown physiologically to be damaging.
I've read a couple articles. How did the trend, and I'm not sure it's a trend, of workstations where you're standing instead of the traditional sitting? Is there research into that, or is that kind of goes consistent with what you just said?
There's work there. I mean, I have not seen the data recently, but it is definitely there. Quite honestly, just imagine I'm standing right now, but if you had a treadmill going at 1 or 2 miles per hour and you do this, apparently there is a link. I think, I have a suspicion that down the road, that the colleges are not going to have these little seats where students are sitting, going to sleep in class, but that we may have little stations. And I'm hypothesizing that people are going to be more engaged, more alert, and probably, and this is hard to test, probably going to retain information better than just sitting there comatose. So I think that down the line, in terms of even young kids, rather than sitting just passively, I think it's better for them to be engaged. And as I said, we just mentioned, when you exercise, there are chemicals released in your brain. So I have a suspicion that when we are upright and so on, that there are things being released that keeps our cognitive function more alert.
Interesting.
So the American College of Lifestyle Medicine has really moved what you're speaking about to preventive medicine, and which is really healthcare. And it's, you know, it's kind of interesting. Health education for many of us, whether we got it in 7th grade or 8th grade, was a pretty uneventful time. But the educational opportunities now, which probably would include grant fund for creative educational scholarship, of how might one think about that? And I have never been to the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, but I have a number of colleagues who have now joined that society. And it's really very interesting because literally what PEPSL is about is the lifestyle medicine. I mean, that's where the program's moved, right? So do you has the college sent any faculty to those meetings to participate and look at what the program development is and what opportunities might be for collaboration?
That's an outstanding question. To be honest with you, I'm very aware of them. I am heavily involved with the American College of Sports Medicine, which, as you know, is an umbrella organization, and there are parts we get what our needs there, but I personally have not been involved with that organization. I know of it, and to be frank with you, if you were to put an umbrella on the research that I do, the research that I do personally is lifestyle medicine. It's really that's what I do. So your point you're making is that some of us should really, I would say to you, I should probably at least look at them more. But you know, there's only so much time you have to devote to any one organization, and I'm already into at least 2 and 3.
No, you can't get too diffuse. That's always a bad place to end up. But you know, it's very interesting as a Springfield College graduate from, you know, just a few years ago. You know, the original philosophy of the college is lifestyle medicine on top of physical education, and medicine's taken a long time to get where Springfield started in the 19th century. So that's what always keeps ringing back to me. So how does a college make that connection back?
Dr. Geyer, I think Dr. Geyer a few years ago was the humanics professor and brought to the campus the exercise is medicine focus.
I remember that. It was superb.
That is still relevant. Dr. Geyer, you might want to pick up on that.
Sure. I think I mentioned it very briefly in the beginning, Dr. Hamill, and one of the things that we're currently working on is a wellness institute. So we have a meeting this afternoon, and it's really a developmental approach of wellness across the lifespan, from pediatric to senior fitness. It has behavior modification in it. It has nutrition in it. It has exercise. It has recreation, ropes course, compliance. It's the whole gamut. We have yet been able to put all of the skilled people in the same place on this campus to make this run. And we finally have some traction, and we, with the help of John White and Rick Van Camp and Dr. Cooper and Dr. Potvin, they want to hear more about it. I think, you know, Charlie was one of my mentors, and he used to say, you know, if you swing the skunk long enough, finally somebody's going to smell it. Well, I think I've swung the skunk and finally got some attention. So I have a new grad working with me, a new faculty who we just hired, Adam Fight. He's going to be helping me get this up and running. And we're looking at doing our first program in the summer of 2022, so next summer. And it'll be a holistic wellness program. And then hopefully we'll have some specific programs like a wellness weekend for women, a retreat, summer program. So we will be getting this up and running. We are working on the business plan currently, and hopefully Dr. Hamill will be able to put all these things together under one umbrella and let Springfield shine for what it is. And that is, it should be the center for wellness, and hopefully we can get it up and running and have some success with it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Roger.
Yeah, so are you familiar with I think it was called the Wellness Institute in Stevens Point 40 years ago, I guess. Bill Headley started. I don't know, I'm sure he's retired, but it sounds a lot like what you're talking about. I'm not sure if it still exists out there, but it was a pretty big national program.
I'll look into it. I did some research. I found about 30 comparatives. Obviously, we're not going to compare with a Canyon Ranch-esque. We're not going to be that elite, but I have found some comparatives. I'll look into that one. I did not see that. So when we develop our model, I'll take another look.
Yeah, in the 80s, they were doing regional programs, and they always had a big national week-long conference out in Stevens Point.
Okay.
But they did a lot of that kind of thing. I don't know if they still exist.
Helpful. Thank you very much.
So one other thing, Sue, the Gordon research conferences that are held throughout New England and the prep schools, Springfield could host one on wellness on campus and bring in some of the leaders in the field. I mean, I used to go to those in neuroscience, and you'd end up in a room with people who were Nobel laureates. So in the Gordon conferences, that whole agenda, that would be a way to market it.
That's fantastic.
And any other questions of our scholars here? Ideas? So you might, as we close up here, want to give some information on a couple of upcoming events that might be of interest to some or all of the group?
Sure. Fortunately, Dr. Tipton has allowed us to have an alumni event. Sadly, Dr. Tipton did pass away earlier this year, but his legacy will continue. So we'll be having the Tipton Alumni College event, and that is in, Tammy, I'm kind of looking in your boxes, October
1st.
And I'm unmuting. It's October 1st.
And our theme there is fitness over 50, fit after 50. And Dr. Headley is one of our speakers. We have 4 speakers that day, but we are also going to open up our exercise physiology human performance lab for testing on site on that day as part of the Alumni College. So give you an opportunity to look at our facility, be tested by either faculty or one of our grad students. So that is an up and coming program that we are looking forward to. We also have the Karpovich lecture that is coming up. And Charlie, I don't have my calendar. It's October 15th, if I remember correctly. Marianne DeSosa is going to be speaking at that. She is a world-renowned researcher and exercise physiologist, so in women's health specifically. So 2 key events coming up in October. And hopefully they will be face-to-face events, and we cannot be happier to start having people on campus and having these lectures face-to-face, because Zoom, while it's convenient, it's not the same.
Thank you. Any other questions before we turn you loose to your next virtual endeavor?
Hi, this is Mary. Can I interrupt for just 1 minute? This is Mary Beth Cooper.
Okay.
I'm just listening in. I'm driving, and so I was so excited to hear all this good information. I hope that many of you will be able to join me on Saturday morning, not only after you do your 5K, and then we're going to do a State of the College, and I'll give you all the news that's happening and things that we're planning for the fall. And so I'm so excited that we're doing this, and I want to thank the panelists. You're great gifts to Springfield College. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, President Cooper. Anyone else? I'd like to thank our panelists, our scholars, Stephanie, Dr. Geyer, and Dr. Headley. Really some interesting information. I think watching the expressions on the screen here, there's some curiosity there, and there's some, I think we've showcased the right people at the right time. I want to thank the participants for taking some time and virtually learning a little bit more about the college. I think I'm very, very excited. And we're always interested in ideas if we're going to continue these types of programs, again, hopefully in person. We're looking for ideas. So don't be shy to send your ideas into Tammy's office or to any of our speakers today so that we continue to meet what you think is important. And obviously want to thank Tammy, Maria, and Damon for their work in setting this up behind the virtual screen here, which I think is a very interesting, very fascinating hour or so. So best wishes, enjoy the rest of your virtual weekend, and we hope to see you on campus soon.